Hare Krishna, welcome back. So from the part 1, we saw that how creation indicates a creator and design indicates a designer. And in various such ways, just by looking at nature, nothing happens by chance, nothing happens by an accident. Everything seems to have a supreme, superior, divine intelligence behind it. At the end of that video, we discussed that how, let's also look at some other alternatives instead of just the creation theory. So in today's world, there's a very famous theory of the Big Bang and Darwin's theory. So in this video, part 2, we're going to look at a bit of the other chance theories, the alternative theories of creation, or how the world or the universe came into existence. So let's briefly look at Big Bang theory as well as Charles Darwin's evolution theory. The Big Bang theory states that billions and billions and billions and billions of years ago, when there was nothing, there was somewhere in the universe, there was just a point. And this point experienced an explosion or an implosion, some kind of a explosion. And from that, the whole gave birth to the entire cosmos and the universe and all creation and life. Everything came out of this bang. So therefore, it was called as the Big Bang. But from this discussion, a few doubts arise. For example, where did this point originate from? How did it come about? What is the cause of this point? What made suddenly the universe turn into a point? And second question comes, what caused it to explode? Another question that comes to mind, that we don't see the explosion happening again throughout history. And the last question is, in our lives, and as history has it, we have never seen anything constructive, creative, or anything intelligent, or anything living come out of a bang. After an explosion, there's always destruction. There's always death. We don't see life or creation coming out from a blast. So to think that from an original one point of time in history, unknown origin, there was a bang and whole creation created, it never to happen again, to believe that seems a little far-fetched. That too, that after a blast, life is created. Supreme, superb organization, creation and life and design of, great amazement, that all got created. So in this way, the Big Bang theory again seems very theoretical. Now let us move on to Charles Darwin's theory of evolution, or the origin of species. So let's look at a bit of history before this. Charles Darwin was a very, very, very religious man, church-going man. And somehow or other in his life, he lost 2 of his youngest children. And that was extremely devastating to both him and his wife. So much so that it pushed him to the point that he started questioning God. He said that, is God really all benevolent? Is he all merciful? Or perhaps God is all merciful. But then again, perhaps he is not all powerful, because he could not stop death of innocent children. So how is this so? This pushed Darwin to actually further look at nature, look at species, see the cruelty or see the reality in nature. And that kind of prompted him to think that, there must be no controller, that just one life form evolves to another. In his book, The Origin of Species, it is based on his observations when he went to the Galapagos Islands and he was looking at different species, and he was studying the finch bird, and he was thinking, this bird has a small beak, how did it become large? And through various means of speculation, which he himself says, he drew some notes, which today is known as the Darwin's theory of evolution. Now, if anyone's actually read the book of Origin of Species, you'll find things which are a little, difficult to digest, that you will say. So, for example, Darwin states that, why does a giraffe have a very long neck? He states that, it's simple, because at that time when there was nothing to eat, no greenery to eat for a short-necked animal, the giraffe had to evolve and stretch his neck up so it could reach the greens of a tree. Sounds very logical. But the problem is, in today's day, we still see giraffes existing alongside other short-necked animals. So with the theory of the understanding of natural selection, why did the giraffe have a long neck in the first place? If other animals who had short necks, they could survive, why would the giraffe need to adapt to get a long neck? Okay, fine. Now it goes on further to say things like, Darwin writes that I see that it's not difficult to believe that if a polar bear swimming in the Arctic Ocean was unable to find its food and it's just swimming and swimming and swimming looking for something to eat, over time it may turn into a whale. So people of modern science will be thinking, how does a polar bear turn into a whale? He said this is evolution. And of course the most famous, he says that how monkeys became man. So, then the question again arises that if monkeys became man, why are they still monkeys? Why didn't those monkeys evolve? Why are still monkeys living side by side with humans? So these are a few kind of theories that kind of challenge Darwin's own, concept of evolution. Now, interestingly enough, in Sanatan Dharma, in the Vedic philosophy, there is talk about evolution. But it's not evolution of the body. The body doesn't physically change, right? The species are fixed. You may find variations in each species, but species are kind of fixed. They don't talk about the evolution per se of the physical body, but the Vedic philosophy speaks about the evolution of the soul, how the soul can move from one physical body to another physical body. And this is the evolution of the soul's movement, the journey of the soul to different bodies, not so much as the bodies physically changing. Science may say that you have genetic mutations, that you have crossbreeding, but this again just creates different varieties and variations, not necessarily an entirely new species like a polar bear to a whale. So all these alternative chance theories actually put forward the notion that in creation or in the making of this universe, there is no intelligence involved, that everything happened by chance. And therefore, there's a big question mark in the hearts of believers, in the hearts of seekers, that how can there be no intelligence in this design of this brilliant world that we live in, where we see the water cycle, where we see natural recycling, and we see how soil is created, how the sun shines, and how salt water preserves the 90% of the water that is there in this world, and so on and so forth. Such miraculous ingenuity in nature itself. So much so that scientists, men or humans, actually look at nature to build their inventions, to build a ship, to build a plane, to build a submarine. They look at towards nature to learn from nature. So these theories like Big Bang theory and Charles Darwin's evolution theory of evolution of species kind of just only points that there was no intelligence in the creation of this world and everything happens by chance. So we find this a little difficult to believe. The Vedic philosophy states that there is a supreme, a divine, a great power which had created all this. And if we ourselves find ourselves intelligent, right, that life itself is quite intelligent, the way animals function, the way humans function, the way a plant searches for light shows a sign of intelligence, that itself is good enough to say that there is a supreme intelligence. Hare Krishna.